Good morning and welcome to all of our friends, colleagues, and partners. Thank you for joining us for the start of the 2021 annual meeting of Museums Alaska. I'm Amy Phillips-Chan, currently a blank screen up there, and I currently serve as board president for our organization. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our first online conference, MA 2020-21. This morning, we also have with us Alexandra McKay from the Rasmuson Foundation, who will be offering a welcome address. Museums Alaska Director Dixie Clough, who will be helping to moderate this morning's program. And our board members, Amy Stephan, Selena Ortega-Chiolero, and Sarah Owens, potentially, who will be helping to present this year's Museums Alaska Awards. Welcome, and we are glad you are here with us. The last 2 years have seen unprecedented changes in the way Alaska museums operate and serve our communities during this era of social distance. Museums of Alaska has strove to support the needs of our organizations through online distance networking opportunities, advocacy roundtable conversations, Museum Connect partnerships, and training webinars. Through all this, we remember the public health emergency that has prompted our increased shift to virtual engagement. The COVID-19 pandemic has now impacted 220 countries and territories. Our country has experienced almost 700,000 devastating losses, and Alaska has seen over 440 deaths. Our colleagues have underwent the severe symptoms or have had friends and family who suffered through it. However, our communities and families have remained strong, and we have been able to come together here in this new virtual space. As we reflect on why we are meeting online, please take a moment of silence to remember those who have suffered or lost a loved one to the pandemic. So we will resume in 30 seconds. The theme of this year's conference is Sustainability, Adaptation, and Resilience of Alaska Museums, which speaks to emerging opportunities to rethink the ways museums and cultural centers approach their collections, programs, and services to increase access and foster engagement with our communities. For this conference, digital tools have allowed us to erase boundaries to share our voices from across the country. Although we spend much of our time in virtual space now, we are still very much grounded to the land and to the sea. In Alaska, our members live and work on the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples across the state. This morning, I am zooming in from Sitnasak, which is the town of Nome, Alaska, where I am fortunate to live and work here at the Carrie Museum on the traditional homeland of the Nupiat, who have been careful stewards of the land and waters surrounding the Seward Peninsula for generations. We acknowledge these lands, both in thanks to Indigenous communities who are critical to promoting sustainable lifeways and in recognition of historical and ongoing legacies of colonialism within our state. We hope this conference provides an opportunity to listen and learn from one another and to really grow from the unique insights that each of us bring to the conversation. Our conference, MA 2021, is spread out over 4 days with 4 guided conversations, 4 hands-on workshops, and 3 scheduled evening events, in addition to a growing number of meetups, games, and ongoing virtual discussions. Presentations this week cover a broad range of topics from cultural tourism, strategic planning, and museum education to exhibit development, object labeling, and strengthening community relationships through the indigenization of museum practice. We're honored to host 2 amazing keynote speakers who are addressing critical issues of sustainability and equity in the museums and arts and cultural fields. These include Dr. Benjamin Filene from the Smithsonian National Museum of American History, who will be speaking later this morning, and Emily Edenshaw from the Alaska Native Heritage Center, who will be presenting next Monday. Our first online conference has brought in over 195 registered participants, which is amazing. And it's sure to make for rich and dynamic conversations this week. This year's annual conference represents the work of many hands and countless hours of volunteer time. Thank you to the conference team who helped over the past 6 months to create an online experience that is both memorable and meaningful. Thank you to our presenters for all of your carefully crafted presentations and for taking time to share your projects and programs with us. Thank you to our main sponsor, Rasmuson Foundation, for their financial support, which has allowed us to offer free conference registration this year and has really exponentially increased our accessibility and impact. Finally, we jump-started a new initiative this year where individuals could help sponsor the conference and receive some pretty cool Museums Alaska merchandise. So thank you to everyone who helped us and joined with us in this endeavor. Okay, and now it's my pleasure to introduce Alexandra McKay, Vice President of Programs with Rasmussen Foundation, who is going to be sharing a welcome address.
Thank you, Amy. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry we can't all be in person. I've never made it to a conference, but I hope to one day when things are a little more back to normal. I think you have a great theme of adaptation and resilience. It's really of Alaska museums, but really everyone's had to adapt and be resilient in our own lives, trying to navigate COVID restrictions and still maintain connections. And I think the arts community has done an amazing job. The partnership with Museums Alaska is really important to Rasmussen Foundation. It really began in 2003 when we partnered with Museums Alaska to start a grant program, the Art Acquisition Fund, so that museums and cultural centers could acquire contemporary art created by living Alaskan artists. We wanted to be able to capture and have those available to everyone rather than have them purchased. And, you know, it's wonderful that they're in private homes and other collections, but we wanted to have our own collections here in Alaska. Excuse me, I'm going to be clearing my throat a little bit. In 2013 is when the Collections Management Fund was launched to support professional training, conservation materials, and small equipments after we did an evaluation and found that there wasn't a lot of funding existed to maintain the collections that we were trying to help museums acquire. Since that program was launched, Museums Alaska has awarded funds to more than 40 museums for collections management and purchased over 1,300 individual works of art by 580 Alaskan artists, which is just incredible. Despite the pandemic and the stresses of having to close many museum doors, Alaska Museum held firm and was able to continue to meet the needs of you all in their community. A lot of you were challenged with choosing either an abundance or scarcity mindset. You had to think about how you're going to show up in the work, but museums were really creative and swiftly focused on projects and programs that may never have happened if it weren't for COVID. Unfortunately, not every museum was able to do this. Some closed or downsized, but we know that those of you that closed and reopened are stronger in some ways, but won't ever be the same. Through all of this change, Museums Alaska has really done year-round advocacy across the state. All of you are economic drivers in the state through tourism. You've had to navigate legislation locally and nationally. And Alaska Museums Week is one way that you all reach an international audience. We'll continue to support artists and nonprofit organizations through the Acquisitions and Collections Management Fund. The way that Rasmussen Foundation had to adapt to the pandemic involved nonprofits across the state and artists. Our mission is to promote a better life for Alaskans, and that includes culture and art. We find that as an essential part of what is a good life in Alaska, and it makes up about 1/4 of our grant making. Last year, a lot of our requests changed. There were big capital projects that were in limbo. Organizations were trying to find PPE, and we set up a program to try to address that right away. Others had to move their workforces home and navigate new safety protocols where they were open. Artists moved performances online, and the way we gathered and shared information like today changed. What we did is we approved $2 million for a special response fund to address these needs. We changed our grant making and offered a special round of operational support. We did over 200,000 of technology grants to schools and nonprofits, including some of you in different arts organizations, so that people could work and learn from home. One of the big things we did was to partner with the state of Alaska, the Alaska Community Foundation, United Way, to create the Alaska Nonprofit Corona Relief Fund. Through this, we were able to efficiently direct $50 million of federal funding to 256 nonprofits in Alaska. Of that, over 600,000 was directed toward arts and culture. And that was in the form of 13 grants to match local government CARES Act funds to arts and culture groups in your communities, and 135 grants to individual artists in 38 distinct communities. Through a partnership with the State Council on the Arts and Atwood Foundation, we invested in emergency relief artist grants, providing artists with $1,500 of direct support, and 250,000 municipalities across Alaska to match CARES Act funds, as I mentioned earlier. It was a really big year. We weren't sure how things were going to bounce back, but we've opened up all of our regular grant programs again. And last week, our board renewed foundation support for Museums Alaska and awarded $1.34 million over 3 years under Dick Seekloff's leadership to continue the Art Fund grant program for acquisitions and the Collections Management Fund, as well as some of our ideas to expand outreach and educational services to you, the members. All of you really transformed how you showcased support and celebrated artists and maintained your facilities. We saw artists shift and grow and all kinds of innovative ways to continue your practice and reach your communities. You created virtual theater sets, productions, to performances outside. There were video programming. There were video programs that reached individuals. I know I participated in several. And there were 3D modeling gallery spaces, which are really amazing. So thank all of you. You and artists have been so resilient. You've provided us with beauty and respite during this time of uncertainty and upheaval that we're all experiencing personally. Your work really helps us heal and grow and helps us remember what might otherwise be hidden. So thank you for connecting all of us. I'm really excited about your conference. It's a pleasure to have this part of our grant portfolio. It really satisfies me personally to be able to support the work that all of you do. So enjoy your conference, and thank you for inviting me to welcome all of you.
Thank you, Alex, for that really heartfelt welcome to the conference participants. That's wonderful. And it's been wonderful to work with the Rasmuson Foundation over the years as well, and really help support our mission. All right. Well, I think at this point, we will go ahead and transition to our awards and recognition ceremony here. A little bit about our awards program. In 1990, Museums Alaska launched an awards and recognition program to recognize outstanding contributions to the museum field and a long-term commitment to supporting cultural heritage. Over the past 30 years, the awards program has grown to include an award for excellence in the museum field, Volunteer of the Year Award, a Museum Champion, and a President's Award in honor of lifetime achievement. Awards are presented during the annual conference to help celebrate the achievements of our colleagues and to thank them for their service to the field. This year, we are pleased to recognize 4 of our distinguished colleagues and museum partners and to present them virtually with a piece of incredible artwork by Alaska Native artist Sonia Kelleher Combs. Each of the pieces shown here down there in the corner is a carefully crafted pouch made from fish skin with shell and beadwork designs. Kelleher Combs remarks that the small pouches serve as portable secrets that allow the wearer to carry a second item that gives you strength. To help us recognize this year's award recipients are Museums Alaska board members Amy Stepien, Selena Ortega Chiolero, and Sarah Owens. So Amy Stepien, if you're On, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
I am. Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here and to have the sincere honor of presenting the Museum Champion Award to my friend and mentor, Dr. Donald Clark, who passed away in 2018, but whose amazing legacy continues to give to Alaska museums. A little bit about the award. He's being honored with the Museum Champion Award, which is given to an individual or an organization that provides outstanding financial or in-kind support to the operations of a museum, or in this case, two museums. Dr. Clark moved to Kodiak at about the age of 9 when his parents bought the auto repair shop and gas station in downtown Kodiak. And he spent his young life camping and hiking and working at fish weirs and getting to know both the geology and the archaeology of Kodiak, and eventually ended up with a PhD in anthropology from the University of Wisconsin. And Dr. Clark is really well known for his exacting scholarship and his prolific record of publication. He's also really well known for taking care of students, me included. He was the person who would mail you boxes of books unsolicited, who always offered and reviewed papers, and was enormously helpful at involving students in learning about archaeological field research. But what people don't know about him, perhaps, is the impact that he's had on Kodiak's museums, 2 of them. And I want to go to the nomination letter, which was written jointly by the Alutiiq Museum and the Kodiak History Museum, who were both recipients of enormous financial contributions from the estate of Dr. Clark. So I'm going to transition to that and talk to you about his final act of generosity. So from the estate of Dr. Clark, 2 museums in Kodiak received a total of $2.45 million. Our institutions, which lie just 2 blocks apart, were both recipients of game-changing donations from Dr. Clark's estate. The funds represent a substantial portion of his life savings and a major investment in sharing Kodiak history with future generations. Clark's support provides an important measure of financial stability for our organizations. And isn't that the theme of the conference? I thought this was a particularly meaningful award for that reason. And he has positioned us to carry out the work that he began. Neither of our institutions know that he made this commitment till after his death. He never mentioned it. For his lifelong dedication to heritage preservation and his quiet but enormous support of our institutions, we were pleased to nominate Clark for the Museum Champion Award. His generosity and thoughtful planning will have a lasting impact on Kodiak and the histories that share its stories, and the museums rather that share its stories. Both our organizations invested the bequest in funds that will provide operational support for generations. At the Alutiiq Museum, earnings from Clark's gift will underwrite facilities costs. And at the Kodiak History Museum, they're helping to expand essential staff. I see that Dr. Clark's brother, Dr. Gerald Clark, is with us today, and I would turn it over to him if he would like to make a few remarks. Dr. Clark, we need you to unmute.
There we are. Yes, I am. I suppose you might say I am very honored to have had a brother who was so active in archaeology, and I know he would be very honored to learn of these awards. He and I wound up in the same field, archaeology, although I was involved in federal government archaeology, and he was in the museum field, the Museum of Canadian Museum of Man in Ottawa. And I was always amazed at truly how many publications he came out with, and such a wide variety of subjects. I mean, ground squirrels on Chirikoff Island, that's not something that you would think that an archaeologist would be involved in. He did come over to Talkley Island when we were working over there in 1964 and spent a few days with us. That was a very interesting experience. I actually did not get to participate in any archaeology other than that with my brother, other than to read his articles, learn from them. So as I say, I'm honored that he is being so honored. It's sort of a reflective type of thing. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you to your family for all the work you've done. And thank you to Dr. Clark for his amazing support of museums.
Yes, I echo that. Thank you, Dr. Clark and Amy, for presenting the award as well. Okay, we're going to go on to our next award here, our Volunteer of the Year Award. And to help us share this award, we're going to turn it over to Selena Ortega Chialero. Selena, are you on?
I'm here.
Great.
Thank you, everybody. I'm actually really honored to be able to present the award for Volunteer of the Award. As many of you know, our volunteers are invaluable to helping our institutions grow, develop, and be able to do the work they do to serve their communities. The Volunteer of the Year Award acknowledges the critical role volunteers take on within the Alaska museums and cultural centers. Whether it's guiding tours, inventory collections, or constructing cabinetry, our volunteers help to keep us operational, relevant, and connected to our communities. This year, we are honored to recognize Paul Gill of the Kodiak History Museum with Museums Alaska's 2021 Volunteer of the Year Award. Over the past year, Paul put up storm windows, moved furniture, and assisted with recycling for the Kodiak History Museum. During the pandemic, he continued to help maintain the facility and work with staff to complete a collections object inventory. Paul continuously advocates for the importance of small local history museums. When he travels, he even takes his Kodiak History Museum volunteer badge to talk about his local museum. He then brings knowledge back from his travels and shares it with the Kodiak community. Congratulations to Paul on this much-deserved award. Unfortunately, Paul was unable to join us this morning, but we thank him for his service and to all the other volunteers that are currently out there doing good work. Chanan.
Thank you, Selena, and congratulations again to Paul Gill on the much-deserved Volunteer of the Year Award. All right, our next award is the Award for Excellence in the Museum Field, and Sarah Owens was going to originally present this award, but I think she is stuck at home with some last-minute emergency home repairs. So Director Dixie Clough is going to help us present this award. So Dixie.
Okay. So I know Dawn is on the line. Welcome, Dawn. We'll have you speak directly afterwards, but first you have to hear really nice things about yourself. So the nominee is Dawn Biddison. She's a museum specialist at the Smithsonian Arctic Studies Center. It's based at the Anchorage Museum, for those who didn't know. And as the person who nominated Dawn said, she does exceptional work, particularly on the Material Traditions program. Dawn received her undergraduate degree from Columbia University and University College London, where she pursued a cross-cultural emphasis to her study of psychology. In 2002, she completed her master's in anthropology at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Since 2012, the Smithsonian Arctic Studies Center and Anchorage Museum have hosted artist residencies titled Material Traditions. So during the program, accomplished Alaska Native artists are invited to demonstrate their work in important cultural forms and materials. These often combine traditional with innovative and experimental techniques that are shared with museum visitors and participants in the programs. Material traditions programs have focused on fish skin, porcupine quill, gut skin, walrus ivory, cedar wood, cedar bark, moose hide, and grass. Most of the materials are either difficult to source, process, or the knowledge is struggling to survive. The programs are unique in that film documentaries of the material processing and use are created. So the artists are selected are teachers in their own communities, and an environment is provided that enables the artists and museum conservators to share their expertise. The video means that all that knowledge lasts forever, which is wonderful. There have been immense benefits for the artists, communities, museum professionals, and museum objects for which we care. Don Biddison developed the Materials Traditions program and has been instrumental in its continuing success. She works extensively with the artists and communities to organize, conduct, and video document the material gathering and processing events. Don often edits the video footage for online and DVD release and works with teachers to develop material focused on curriculum for schools. A lot of effort and organization goes into planning and implementing the artistic residency program like Material Traditions. And Dawn, as her role as project manager, is essential to ensure there are enough of the practical items, the raw materials, supplies, chairs, tables, good lighting, but also she considers breaks, snacks, and lunches for the artists. And she works tirelessly in the background to create an environment that allows all participants to fully engage. Her high level of project management helps accommodate real-time changes in the schedule, such as weather delays and requested changes to planned processing activities by artists. The program can be challenging to plan since so much of it is the information comes spontaneously as the artists are working on their projects. Dawn's approach to the project management ensures a balance between providing space for this to happen while still providing sufficient structure to move the program along and make it meaningful. She's flexible to respond quickly to feedback and change presentation formats during the program, which has been greatly appreciated by artists, and she has been essential to the success of the program series. While the teaching aspect of the program is important, artists also need space and time for the new working environment. Working in museums can be physically and emotionally draining. We all know this, and Dawn's awareness and empathy of this helps participants in the program as a whole. And since this is often the first time artists have agreed to document a process from start to finish, having participated in these programs as a conservator, it's clear that the conservator is the person who nominated Dawn. It might be a little hint for people. It's clear that a main reason they have such a success is because artists trust Dawn to respect the elders and Indigenous knowledge. She understands the complex logistical and human factors involved in the program. She's flexible, resourceful, adapts to the needs of the artists and other participants, and she respects cultural values and cultural norms of the people she's working with. Her contact amongst the program participants has extended beyond the programs, creating strong and enduring relationships that help break down the past barriers often created by museums. And for that, we thank Dawn. We thank her for all her work. And now she can speak.
Well, thank you, Dixie, and thank you to the Museums Alaska Board and the Museums Alaska community. First, I want to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from the traditional and present-day lands of the Dena'ina Athabascan people, from a place called Darayakak in the Upper Inlet dialect of the Dena'ina Kanaga language. I thank the Dena'ina Athabascan people for the place where my home is and for the place where I work. And sorry, my dog is being a little high maintenance right now. So thank you very much for this honor. It really means a lot to me since it comes from my Alaska community of cultural centers and museums. I'd like to thank the Arctic Studies Center, part of the National Museum of Natural History at the Smithsonian Institution. I'd like to thank the people and organizations that have made the Material Traditions series possible. First, I'd like to thank the Alaska Native elders, knowledge keepers, artists, educators, and scholars who have kindly given me their time to work with me over the years. And Elaine Kingeekuk is one of those people. I see she's with us today, so thank you so much, Elaine. I'd like to thank the CIRI Foundation, who has given ongoing guidance and financial support to the Material Traditions programs. And that includes really expanding the program to have community workshops, which has been a really important growth for the program. The Sear Foundation is a leading Indigenous foundation in Alaska, and their support has really been essential to us. I'd also like to thank the First National Bank of Alaska and the Alaska State Council on the Arts for their ongoing financial support, and the Anchorage Museum for providing us a home here in Alaska. And finally, I want to acknowledge the tremendously generous residents of Alaska and the lower 48 who have long supported the collaborative work of the Arctic Study Center. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Dawn. Congratulations on the museum award for excellence in the museum field. It is very much well-deserved. Thank you, Dixie, for helping to present the award. Okay, our next award is the President's Award in honor of lifetime achievement during the 2014 annual meeting in Seward. Since then, the award has been given out to a distinguished group of artists, academics, and museum professionals who represent really the best in museum community collaborations, Indigenous knowledge preservation, and innovative exhibits and programs that foster audience engagement and learning. This year, I have the distinct honor to present the 2021 President's Award in honor of lifetime achievement to my friend and to my colleague, Elaine Kingeekuk. Elaine lives in her home community of Savunga on St. Lawrence Island and has been sharing her knowledge about skin sewing with students, artists, and museums for over 30 years. She is a doll maker, basket maker, and skin sewer who works with precious materials such as seal and walrus intestine, sealskin, and polar bear hide. And I'm so happy she's able to join us here, and would love to hear from her in just a minute. Elaine, I'm going to share a few more words about you. I first met Elaine in Cordova during the 2015 annual meeting of Museums Alaska. She had partnered with our organization to lead that year's Angels Project at the Cordova Historical Museum. For this project, Elaine carefully repaired a waterproof parka, which is made from bear intestine in the collection. As she made hundreds of careful tiny stitches, she spoke to us about using local natural materials for survival and the importance of passing these skills on to the next generation. In addition to the Angels Project, Elaine has served as a valuable guide and contributor to many other museum initiatives over the years. She served as an advisor for the Smithsonian exhibition, Living Our Culture, Sharing Our Heritage, the First Peoples of Alaska, that opened in 2010, and helped to mend the ceremonial gut parka, now on display at the Anchorage Museum. In 2012, a book titled Seal, Thimble, and Sinew Thread, Sewing Art of the Siberian Yupiks from Savunga, Alaska, was published by Elaine and Herminia Den from the University of Alaska, Anchorage. In 2014, Elaine joined artists Mary Tonachuk and Sonia Kelleher-Combs in the Smithsonian Material Traditions Sewing Gut Artist Residency at the Anchorage Museum, which Dawn mentioned. More recently, in 2020-2021, Elaine partnered with our museum, the Carrie McLean Museum, to create a walrus intestine mask designed with over 15 different types of traditional natural materials. During our phone conversations, I was fortunate to learn not only about the significance of each of these materials to St. Lawrence Island Yupik culture, but also more about Elaine and the amazing legacy of historic preservation and traditional skin sewing that she has created. Elaine's generous and kind spirit has touched many over the years, and her career presents a shining example of collaborative museum work to which we can all aspire. So congratulations to Elaine Kingeekuk on this significant achievement. And now I will turn it over to Elaine. Elaine, if you'd like to share a few words, that would be wonderful.
Can you hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Oh, okay. Thank you all very much. And I really would like to take honor in taking this award, mostly for my elders of my community, my grandmother, my great aunts, my uncles, and all the beautiful ladies or related to my mother or not, who shared materials, who taught me stitches and feed me with all the beautiful knowledge they have. They had no greed in teaching me. They were more than happy to teach me the fine stitches. And yet recently I attended our local survival and thing, and I've learned more stitches or reminded of other different stitches. The elders too later, they give me their fine materials, the lost art materials that I had from my mother and my aunties, my great aunties. And the elders as a child that talked about artifacts and taught me how to look into them and read the symbolic history on them, and told me about things that make me think today of how our education system was like. And on behalf of them, I am more than honored to receive this award. And when I heard about Amy telling me, I cried because my grandma's dream became true, because she had herself was doing a lot of birdskin park and other things for collectors or museums. And then one day she said to me after, I hope one day your work will be in museums. After Amy told me, I looked at her picture and I said, Grandma, thank you. And I thank all the people. And I do want to pass on what they willingly passed on to me, to anyone in my community and anyone who's willing to learn. And on that mask, I put in from something from the past to modern material I started using. I'm holding in there is a hog intestine. So the hog intestine is on the mask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elaine. I'm so glad you were able to join us this morning and share a little bit about your family and the skills that you learned from all of your aunties and your grandma and your mother. And it's just been a real honor to work with you over the past couple of years. And I think there's actually many on our conference here who have benefited from partnering with you, and just it's just been a real joy and pleasure to be our colleagues. So thank you, and for all your good work that you've done. So congratulations again to Dr. Donald Clark, Don Biddison, Paul Gill, and Elaine Kingeekuk, this year's 2021 award recipients. We're so happy for those who could join us, and we're just so proud of the work that you've done, and glad we were able to join with you in this much deserved recognition. Okay, well, we are getting ready to sign off for a short break here. Please connect back in just a little while around 10:15 a.m. For our first keynote address, which is by Dr. Benjamin Filene at the National Museum of American History. He's going to be sharing his presentation called Curating in Crisis, Seeking Opportunities Within Pandemic Constraints. And if you have a few minutes and you'd like to stay on, for those who are new to HUVA or would like to learn more about navigating the online platform, Museums Alaska Director Dixie Clough will be happy to share some tips and tools for getting the most out of your online conference experience this week and next. So thank you again to everybody for joining us this morning. Congratulations to our award recipients. And thank you to Alexandra McKay for sharing the welcome address. And we look forward to hearing your voices later on in this week's conversations. So thank you again. And I'm going to turn this over now to Dixie, who will have some great hoover tools and tips to share with you.
Hi guys, I kind of covered this at the beginning, but in case you missed it, so Whova, you can join either via Whova or via Zoom. And if you do, there are 2 different chat functions. And it's completely fine, chat however you want, however you can. Right now, actually what I have open is the Whova in a different platform and a different, what's it called, window. And then I also have Zoom open. So I'm able to see both chats. That's one way to do it. You can also log in through your phone to see the chat on Whova if you log in through Zoom on your computer. Once again, it's stuff that I covered this morning. So if you would like to get away and get a few minutes between now and the first keynote, feel free. You don't have to listen to me. I won't be offended. So also we have a photo contest happening right now. And what it is a photo contest for you to share the most beautiful photo of whatever state you live in with us. And then people can vote on it. And the winner is going to get a Museums Alaska hat. And then we also have a leaderboard. So the more that you participate in community, in the contests, in the chat, the more points you get. And then the person who gets the most points, I believe, is getting a cup, a Earthwell Roaster cup. And we look forward to giving out those awards at the end of the conference. So you have today, tomorrow, and then Monday and Tuesday to participate. You can also participate all week. And that's a little way to like get more points in. I'm trying to think what else I can tell you. Most of our guests, most of our speakers will not have polls, but if they do have polls, they will only be available through Whova. So that's why you might want to have that window open so you can see Whova as well. I believe the 2 speakers that I know have polls are going to be the education guided conversation, which I believe is next week. Is it next week? Yes. And then I believe the other one might be next week as well. So I'm not sure there are any polls this week, so that's good. Just so you know, if you are in the first 10 years of your career in museums, you can join us tonight for our first event of the conference. Our evening event starts at 6 p.m. It's completely informal, so you can drop in for a few minutes, drop in for more, but we'd love to hear from you about what you might want to see from the Emerging Museum Professionals Network that is connected to Alaska and Museums Alaska. So what kind of professional development opportunities, what kind of meet and greets would you like? What would you like to see from the Facebook page and things like that? And it's also just a great way to get to know other people who are in the first 10 years of their museum career. And this doesn't mean that you're just out of college. It just means that you maybe just started a museum career. It might be your second career. It doesn't have an age on it. It just has the 10 years of museum experience. 13 years. Well, 13 years is slightly out of it, but we might have mentoring programs. So if you're interested in mentoring someone who's just joining the museum community, that might be a way to participate as well in the EMP group. I know that's something that we're very interested in starting at Museums Alaska, is some kind of mentoring program. So if you are interested, please let us know. I'm trying to think what else. I can't think of anything else really. If you have any difficulties with Whova, feel free to email me at director@Museums Alaska. You can direct message me through Zoom or through Whova. And you can also call me if it's like you really need to get into a session and you can't, and it's an emergency, go ahead and call me. It's 907-371-4348. I will be in every session, so you'll always be able to get in touch with me there. Sorry, I'm getting a direct message right now, so I'm reading that. So you can access Whova through your computer. You don't have to have the app. There is a link that I sent out through all attendees this morning. I think it was at 6 a.m. Hopefully you got that. It should have gone to whatever email address you used to sign up for the conference. And that has the link so you can get to it through your computer. You can also do it through your phone. Either way, it's the same platform. So if you're trying to get to those contests, the photo contests, the leaderboard, you do have to be in Whova while you do that. I don't think the chats in Zoom count. I don't think Whova can see those. So it's chatting in Whova itself. And I'll resend you that email, Desiree. And I haven't actually mentioned the prizes in any emails. It's just in the actual Whova platform that you can see that. But I should probably do that. Okay, I think I'm going to let everyone go. So it's 2 minutes until 10. So our speaker, Dr. Filene, will be on at 10:15. You can find it through the agenda link, which is on the, I'm trying to do left side of the Whova platform. I don't know directions very well. It's horrible when I'm trying to give people directions when I'm driving, or so they're driving and I'm like, go this way. I inevitably give them the wrong direction. So yes, on the left side, there's an agenda link. On Monday, you should be able to find Dr. Filene's address and you should be able to join us through that. And as I said, if you have any problems, just email me, call me, whatever you need to do to get in touch with me and I will help you. Okay. Thanks for joining us, everyone. See you hopefully at the keynote. Bye.